different aspects of the knowledge I have about that. But anyway, so what I was doing was I was drawing. Okay, everyone knows what the Aliens movie is. Everyone knows what a xenomorph is. Some people are not familiar with what Hellboy is, or familiar with what Spawn is. For those of you that know what Spawn is, or know what Hellboy is, or know what Aliens is, or Alien, or what a xenomorph is, I usually don't do fan art really at all. Once in a blue moon, I'll do fan art of something if I like it enough, or I'll just kind of animate or draw something just to experiment with how something might kind of look. So I was pretty much doing that, and I was thinking of an idea. These are just thoughts of something that I think I would want to see, because as far as anime and movies, there's some awesome movies that have come out, and then there's some really stupid ones. There's some good anime I'm pretty sure that has come out, and then there's some that's just more or less uninteresting to me. But what I think would be an insane sounding idea, but I think it would be really cool, would be, right? They do crossover movies, right? Now, imagine this, right? Imagine if they did a crossover of Alien, right? Not Alien, but basically Aliens. Let me make it even more clear. Most people probably don't even know this exists. Okay, the Aliens genre. There's like Alien, Aliens, all types, Alien Resurrection, Alien versus Predator. You know how they made, at one point, Alien Armageddon. It was an arcade arcade shooter game, or what they call like light gun shooter or whatever. Or like a rail type of shooter. So basically, more to the effect of that, like an apocalyptic type of alien setting. I would love to see if they made an alien movie, right? Like that. Aliens, whatever. Excuse me. But they crossed over Spawn and Hellboy. Spawn and Hellboy in the movie at the same time. I think that, well, whether it would be, I mean, I'd only imagine if something like that was made, it would probably be an anime. It probably wouldn't be live action, but I think it would be extremely cool. Actually, probably even more cool if that was a live action movie. Because like, think of those of you that know who Spawn is and know who Hellboy is, know about the different powers, like, and different potentials they have. Just like this, for instance, the aliens have acidic blood, right? You know what it looks like. I mean, there's variations of it, but let's just say visually, in a more Hellboy or Spawn world, it would probably be green. Yeah, honestly, it would probably be a bright green or something. Spawn bleeds green. You got to think, Spawn, just use your imagination if you have one. Spawn has regenerative powers. Spawn can regenerate. I mean, like, incredible regeneration. Hellboy really can't regenerate. He can better than a human, way better than a human, but nothing like how Spawn can regenerate. So you think about how the weaknesses and the strengths complement each other between the characters. You think of the styles of the characters, the way they fight, the way their backgrounds are. Now, Hellboy is more of an extremely powerful, I mean, just brute strength, powerful type of character. Not like the Hulk or anything, but, not like the Hulk. But in comparison to characters like Wolverine and Spawn, Hellboy probably, with pure strength, is much stronger, right? But he's weak in the fact where he can't take much damage. He's not like Wolverine or Spawn. Wolverine and Spawn are damn near unstoppable when it comes to the beatings they can take, and regeneration and all that stuff, especially Wolverine. Spawn, to an extent, I think he can die if he's damaged and doesn't heal or concentrate on healing long enough or whatever. He can really just die. But it's almost damn near impossible, especially with the way Spawn is. You don't see Spawn. It's like he can pretty much be invisible. He can pretty much fly, glide. He's there, and then he's not. He can walk through walls. Who Spawn is. He's Spawn, so it's almost impossible. But think of the complementing differences in powers. Now back to Hellboy again. I'm kind of all over the place, but you get what I'm saying. Hellboy is a slugger. Okay, Hellboy, obviously, if you watch the movies I've never read the comic. I haven't read the comic, honestly, about of Hellboy, but I know how the attributes that Hellboy has. Hellboy has a degree of skill, but he lacks the same creativeness that Spawn has in terms of combat. He lacks the overall skill that Spawn has in terms of combat, like hand-to-hand weapons, just, the type of intelligence, the critical thinking when it comes. He's a slugger. Anyone that knows anything about martial arts that watches Hellboy has some martial arts talent in skill, but he's more of a sloppy slugger and a brute, really. He uses weapons sometimes, and he uses them in semi-smart ways, but Hellboy is more of a, like, egotistic, yeah, to a degree, hero type. He likes to play a lone hero, and he likes to challenge himself, and he kind of almost likes to watch things play out in a way, kind of like how a kid goes around pretending they're a hero. Not saying he's not a hero, but you know what I'm saying. And he's a slugger and a brute, so really when it comes down to it, I think they would complement each other well, because Spawn is more of a very, very. I mean, Hellboy does. Don't get me wrong. Hellboy is tactical, but not like Spawn. Nothing like Spawn. Spawn is like a silent assassin, and when he's not, more of a stealthful, silent assassin, he's still just, his level of skill is too much for, honestly, for most. I'm not just saying it because he's one of my favorite fictional characters. It's just it's just the truth. Spawn is so tactical that it would be hard for most heroes or characters to really compete with that type of skill and tactfulness when it comes to combat. Regardless of what type of combat it is, it's just hard to it'd be hard to deal with Spawn. And when in terms of enemies, see, Spawn's downfall is his anger, his rage. Hellboy is to an extent his anger and his rage, but Spawn, it's in a different way. Spawn, it's more like how am I saying it? The weakness. It's more like his rage allows him, and I'm talking about the movies of Spawn, cartoon and movie Spawn. Spawn, instead of relying on the metaphysical aspect of his powers and his potential, he gets mad and angry and then just rushes to the quickest thing he used to know when he was a normal human, like using weapons, relying on physical weapons, guns, etc., to try to accomplish something, instead of looking within and realizing like he could form a weapon out of, whatever, or turn himself or part of himself into a certain weapon. And that's what really makes him dangerous, because like, think of it this way. If him and like I said, this contributes to like how their powers complement each other, Spawn and Hellboy. Hellboy is a slugger, and he likes to, a lot of times, if you watch how Hellboy fights, he likes to use his I think it's his right hand. he likes to use his right. He thinks his right hand is everything, just because it's, he can punch through walls with it. He can deflect things with it. You know what I'm saying? He can deflect things with it. But it's like, his forearm, literally his forearm and fist, he can knock through things with it, he can break bones, but when you think of Spawn, the scary thing with Spawn has too many weapons. Spawn's whole body's weapon. Like if Spawn really focused and wanted to, he could turn his shin into some type of spiky thing if he wanted to, when you think of like Hellboy, just to give you this scenario, if Hellboy were to try to deflect Spawn's strikes, whether it was Spawn's bare hands or or if it was his shins and elbows that he's using with bladed weapons, or if Spawn had a blade in one hand or whatever and was using something as a shield or whatever, most likely Hellboy is most likely going to use that right hand to try to guard in whatever angle direction is coming at him. But then you got to think all the other openings that Spawn has. Like I said, Spawn, with all the possibilities, the chains, etc. He would just he would, in my opinion, okay, whether it would be a long range fight, like with shooting, starting off with shooting, when the ammo runs out, then you're gonna have to resort to other things and try to outsmart each other, and maybe one person will try to hide and whatever. You know how fights go. If you know about, martial arts, you know how a fight is a fight is a fight. A fight, you know how fights are. So it's a lot of thinking involved. It's like, like a chess game. So, but which Hellboy, I bet you would lose. See, the funny thing about, like I was saying about Spawn would annihilate him. Because between the invisibility, the moving through objects, just the combo of everything with Spawn, he would destroy Hellboy in the regenerative thing. Because it's like any amount of damage Hellboy could do, Spawn would heal. What would his best bet would be to try to somehow grapple Spawn and rip his head off or something. Because I'm sure Hellboy is strong enough, but like I said, it's Spawn. You can't just walk up to someone even you can't, well, humans can't rip someone's head off, but if you're going to try to just walk up and, grapple someone, it's not that simple. There's going to be a struggle, there's going to be a fight. You're not just going to walk up and even get someone and just chokehold. It's like, Spawn would destroy him, just saying. It's funny to think of it. But you see how, if you really think of it and you use your imagination, you see how in a movie, the types of fights they would have against enemies would be cool because of that, because of all the different variations of things they can do, the way they complement each other, in a battle, because of powers. It would be cool. It would be awesome, in my opinion, to see. Then you got to think of, now I'm going to forget about Spawn and Hellboy. Think of the similarities between the Samael character, right? Samael, and the Xenomorph. It sets up for a lot of things. If you think of the Xenomorph, pretty much in a way, well, the facehugger, before it's a fully fledged Xenomorph, the facehugger impregnates a being, right? Now, depending on that being, pretty much almost all the time, if it, depending on the size of the being, if it can be impregnated, it's going to have characteristics of that being. So think of the possibilities. There could be a Xenomorph, Samael hybrid. Let's say, since Hellboy is the way he is, if he was to get impregnated by a facehugger, he would probably be able, I'm just imagining, he might be able to survive the birthing of the chestburster. And I'm pretty sure with the way Hellboy is, the damn thing would pop out of him, and he probably would watch it run off somewhere. If that were to happen. I doubt he would know what was happening. Neither would Spawn. They wouldn't probably know what was happening while the process was happening of the internal thing. Now I'm using Hellboy as an example because I wouldn't even think Spawn is Spawn is is like undead or something. So I don't even imagine how that could even work. How he could get impregnated by anything, or I don't imagine how he could be diseased by anything. That's what I'm trying to say. Or anything that's not metaphysical. I don't know how it could really affect him. I don't even know if he can eat food or whatever. But that's what I'm trying to say. Think of the possibilities and the similarities. Just like a Xenomorph has acid blood, Samael can regenerate. I mean, Samael can regenerate from a lot of things. Like, he's another one. You'd practically have to cut his head off to really kill him. But then when you do, another one just sprouts up. Or two, you kill him, two more sprout up. I'm talking about the movie. So it would be pretty cool to see. Because then you got to think of, like, not only fights between Hellboy, not necessarily Hellboy fighting Spawn, but in a movie like that, you'd imagine maybe when they first meet, they'd probably have a little scuffle or something. But think of it. Hellboy fighting the Xenomorphs, and Spawn fighting the Xenomorphs and the Samael creature. But think of fights between Samael and the Xenomorphs, how cool that would be. Then you gotta think, imagine the Violator, right? Faced off with the alien queen. I don't know how much size difference there is between them, and I'll say it again. Well, not again, but I've been thinking about it, so to me, I'm thinking back. I'm saying it. I think now, I'm going to keep it real. I think Violator would destroy the queen. He wouldn't destroy the queen. I mean, the queen would get cornholed. He wouldn't just it would be pitiful because, the queen is sluggish. Now, I mean, they could make her fight however they want in a movie, but let's just keep it real. You know how the queen is. The queen is sluggish. Chicken-legged, slow-moving, analytical and slow. Violator is a dirty, nasty, disgusting, underhanded. Violator fights like a good fighter with a prison shank. that knows what he's doing. See, it's like, he would kick Spawn's ass most of the time. So, but it would be cool to see a fight between him and the Queen, or just to make it more evened out, Violator could probably fight, I'd imagine, 3 or 2 queens at once, 2 alien queens at once, or 3 probably, easily. Just keep it real. He easily could fight 3 at once. Because it's like the stupid sluggish movements of the Queen. Violator would be all over him. And Violator, he might not really ever use weapons, but he could use weapons. Violator could pick up a 2x4. Think of how tall he is, how huge he is. He could pick up a lot of shit. He might rip a mailbox out of the ground and bash the jaw off. Not break the jaw, but clean. He probably could smack the jaw clean off of a queen, or rip the neck open. Or impale him with that crazy thing he has coming out. A lot of things could happen, but it would be cool to see the scuffle combat. Like, a lot of things could happen. Then too, you got to think of the Xenomorph has the protruding mouth thing, the extra jaw or whatever. And Samael has his crazy. I always laugh at it, but it is cool. That thing, the finger thing, that long. I think it's on his right hand. His left or his right hand? I think it's his right hand too. Just like how Hellboy has his big rock thing, whatever the hell you want, that key thing, that big thing that he likes to guard things with it. Like he highs and lows and angles. He likes to use that, and punch with it, and because that's what it's there for. That's what he uses it for. But yeah, it's like that would be a cool fight to see Violator face off against an alien queen or some alien queens, and I think the Xenomorph, in comparison to what's it called, Samael. I don't know. I don't know if Samael's stronger necessarily. He seems, definitely to me, seems stronger. But I could be completely wrong, because a Xenomorph seems like it could, rip through a steel door if it wanted to. Like you use in Alien Resurrection, the game, they just bang a steel door, either until it pops open or they're literally kind of tear it open and push it open. But Samael seems like he could kind of similar to the same thing. But could you imagine the fight, how cool it would be, though? Even let's say if it was like if it was 3 Xenomorphs jumping on Samael, and with the regeneration, the sad thing is, even with the acid blood, Samael, I think he's much smarter than a Xenomorph. He looks dumb, but if you really watch Samael, like in the Hellboy movie, he's very smart. He just looks stupid. He doesn't talk. That's another thing I wanted to point out. Now, it might seem goofy and stupid, but I think what would be really cool, because of the way that Samael sort of does coordinate attack patterns like anything else does, even without maybe not thinking of it, but I'm pretty sure he probably does think and does like the raptors in Jurassic Park. He probably is critically thinking to a degree. Like for instance, all the Samael creatures look the same. At least, well, when I like to draw them, somewhat different. Like some have red here on the mouth, and some have red hands. You get what I'm saying? Some have a red bottom area, and then some don't. Because that's just me. But let's say like if it was like the movie, they all look the same, so you can't always tell if it's 1 or 3 or if it's 2 or 4 or whatever. One goes to the left. You see another one go to the left, maybe you think, oh, okay, it's 2. Or if you see one go to the left, and then one dart back in the other direction on the right, you think, oh, well, he just went left. He paused for a little bit, and like a cat, or a dog does, he just darted back, right again. But really what you saw one go that way, and he said something or signaled or whatever to the other one, and then the other one went the other way. So now you don't know that there's one behind you, regardless of which direction you're in. You go that way, that one's going to jump on you. You go the other way, the other one's going to jump on you. Maybe there's one on the ceiling, you know, you don't know. So that's pretty cool. You know, it's the same thing with the xenomorph creatures, the same exact thing. They organize, they talk to each other. You've seen it in the movies, how they communicate. But I think it might even be cool if, you know, if you've seen movies like Critters, where they talk to each other and they have the subtitles at the bottom, and they're not necessarily talking, but they're talking and you can see what they're saying or whatever. I think that, I think, even though that's kind of cheesy, I think that would be so cool to see Samael and Xenomorphs. Because if they made it like Xenomorphs and the Samael creature pretty much, you know, and you could have variations of them, like an Alien Armageddon, you know, like a flying alien, acid spare alien. You could even do some type of hybrids between the Xenomorph and Samael, because, you know, the facehugger. You could even make it like some of them not necessarily are teamed up with each other, but you know, like how am I trying to say it? Oh, there's some hybridization between the both of them, is what I'm trying to say, and maybe those things would team up with each other, even though there's not that many of them. But pretty much the Samael creatures and the variations of aliens or variations of Samael or both, wherever, have pretty much overrun a city or something. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, so you get images kind of like how you imagine in Alien Armageddon. You know, like you got chaos going on and you have all this type of fighting going on. So I think that would be really cool. One thing I was going to say too, which I like about the anatomy of the Samael, like I said, you know, I don't know which finger it is, but he has or if you can even call it a finger, he has that long thing, he hangs from it, he rips doors open with it, he tries to attack Hellboy with it, and he doesn't really use it much, but I'm pretty sure if he's fighting xenomorphs, he would be using that thing a lot, you know. But then you got to think the cool thing about that is, you know, I could even easily give you a demonstration of things that could happen with a stick, of how, you know, a xenomorph could easily, once they get a hold of it with either hand, they can wrap it and break it. They can use leverage to, you know, how am I trying to say it? To manipulate Samael's body, to bring him down to the ground, you know, or to throw him back, or to trip him, you know. And of course I'm thinking the xenomorph's first instinct would be to just snap the damn thing off. Even if they just got a hold of it with one hand, they're just automatically going to probably twist in the other direction, because they're not that smart. So they just try to break it, you know. But the funny thing is, it's just going to regenerate anyway. So that's makes it kind of cool. You know, let's say if 3 xenomorphs jumped on one Samael and Samael killed all of them and was just, you know, had burns on him and maybe some broken bones or whatever, and scrapes and stuff on him and gashes, he's just going to heal from that anyway. The xenomorphs are just going to have the overwhelming number going for them, you know. But in the long run, there's not much they could really do, because like I said, the regeneration thing, you know. So that's what I think would be so cool about it. So those are basically, you know, I could go on and on and on and on about it, especially because like I said, when it comes to, you know, cinematography, fight choreography, film, art, concepts, anatomy, all that stuff, you know, I'm not an expert on it, but I know a good amount about it. So, you know, I could go on forever about possibilities. You mean you can just use your imagination, but that's pretty much that's pretty much what I was thinking on, and was drawing fan art of.